Seeds and sunflowers. I've got another idea, Mike announced. He was sitting at the kitchen table, cracking shells of sunflower seeds between his molars, spitting them out and then eating the seeds. Another idea for making money? Asked Mr. McCarthy. Mike nodded and pulled out another seed out of his bag. Since the end of second grade, Mike had been trying to pull together sufficient funds to buy a super spy kit. A rental kit was $75, but Mike's friend Derek had offered him to sell his kit to Mike for $25. What a bargain! So far, Mike hadn't managed to get together even that amount, but he was not a quitter. He held up his favorite snack and narrowed his eyes speculatively. What if he grew his own giant sunflowers and harvested the seeds? He could save his allowance dollars and sell the extra seeds at the farmer's market. Then he might accrue enough to buy a super spy kit. I'll cut out the middleman, he explained to his family, because I'll be the farmer and the salesman. You'll have to sell an awful amount of seed to clear $25, Miss McCarthy said. Not if I go organic, Mike said. Organic crops didn't come cheap. Mike had learned that the hard way with his lemonade stand. If he grew organic seeds, he could charge them an arm and a leg for them. Organic farmers had stuck into it with their privacy, organic sugar, and lemons. Now it was his turn to stick it to the consumer. You'll probably need a license to sell at the farmer's market, Mr. McCarthy said. I'll look into it, Mike said. He was not the kind of a guy to be eliminated by a little legal mumbo-jumbo. Gardening takes patience, said his little sister Esther. I can be patient, Mike said. After lunch, Mike carried his bag of sunflower seeds out to the backyard. Under the blazing summer sun, Mike could feel himself baking like a potato. He gravitated toward a shady patch of dirt in one corner of the yard, sat down in it, and started digging. Soon, Esther popped her head out of her bedroom window. You don't want to plant it there, she called. Why not? Shouted Mike. Too shady, she called. It's too sunny in the sun, Mike shouted. Esther smiled. They're sunflowers, Mike, she said. Her head disappeared back inside. Mike sighed and relocated his garden. After a week of watering, Mike scratched his head. Do you think I should remove the shells first? He asked Mom. I don't think so, Miss McCarthy said. Just out of curiosity, where did you get your seeds? You got them for me, Mike said, at the grocery store. Miss McCarthy's eyes widened. I bought them for you? When did I buy you seeds? A couple weeks ago, he said. Wait, she said. Was this a packet of gardening seeds or a bag of snacks? Mike shrugged. Both, he said. Mike, she said, your snacks are roasted and salted. Is that what you planted? Right, Mike said. Roasted, salted, and organic. Yes, his mom said, but not alive. Seeds are alive? Mike said. Gardening seeds are alive, she said. The seeds you eat aren't. What are you saying? Demanded Mike. My snacks are dead? In a matter of speaking, said Miss McCarthy. Mike groaned. That afternoon, Miss McCarthy took her son to buy live organic seeds at the hardware store. He planted them after dinner as huge clouds masked the western sky. Later that night, a July thunderstorm swept through and soaked Mike's garden patch. Within a matter of days, neat green lines of sprouts sprung up. Mike was thrilled at first. It was happening. But plants were so still, so quiet, and he just had to keep watering them. It was hard to stay interested. One day, he found Esther in his patch, pulling weeds. How do you know which ones are good plants and which ones are bad ones? Mike asked. They're all good plants, Esther said, but the sunflowers are ones reaching for the sky. He also noticed her out there sometimes with her dad's camera. A good photographer explored different angles and perspectives, but Aster always stood in the exact same spot, taking exactly same photo. Mike laughed and shook his head. Crazy kid. By August, the plants were 7 feet tall. When they bloomed, Aster snapped another photo. Look how their faces followed the sun, she said. By September, those faces had filled with seeds. Mike rubbed his hands. Almost there, he said. The next time Mike glanced out of the window, though, he spied a little brown bird perched on the stem of one of those flowers. Mike watched in horror as the bird reached up and stole a seed. Another bird landed, then another, eating all his crop. It was a sparrow conspiracy. Mike ran outside, shouting. The startled birds lifted off and flew away. A little laugh issued from above. Mike looked up to find his sister swinging in her legs from a maple branch. What are you doing? Mike said. Watching, Aster said. Mike told his friend Derek about the birds. They're eating my investment, Mike complained. Sick Pickles on them, Derek advised. Pickles was Mike's cat. Bye-bye, birdies. Aw, they're just birds, Mike mumbled. He wasn't really thinking about the birds, though. He was thinking about Aster up in the tree, watching the birds. Mike constructed a scarecrow instead, but the birds ignored it. The squirrels used the scarecrow's hat to launch themselves onto the flowers. By the time the seeds were ripe enough to harvest, there were only a handful left. Another money-making venture down the tubes. On the first day of autumn, Mike woke up to a bag of sunflower seeds on his pillow, the roasted, salted kind. He carried them to the kitchen where Aster's photos were spread across the table. The photos chronicled the sunflowers from start to finish, along with the birds and the squirrels and the scarecrow. She'd even snap a cover of the farmer. Mike studied the photos and watched the sunflowers rise before his eyes. Maybe, he thought, she knew what she was doing after all. Thanks for the seeds, he said to his mom. What seeds? She asked. Mike lifted the bag and shook it. Those didn't come from me, said Miss Cathy. She plated some scrambled eggs and handed them to Mike. Aster smiled at her brother. They came from me, she said. You bought them? Mike asked. Why? Aster looked back at her photos and everything captured there. That's why, she said.